The holiday season is off and rolling with NFL in full stride and the NBA and NHL hitting mid-season form. BetOnline is your number one destination for all your sports wagering info with up-to-the-minute sports wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions. BetOnline is the top spot for everything pro and amateur sports, and not just the big four. BetOnline has info available at your fingertips with both desktop and mobile access at any time for almost any sport that is played, from MMA to international soccer. Head to BetOnline today and remember to use our promo code Bleav for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Again, that's promo code BLEAV for 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. Bleav in the Arizona Cardinals. It is the Arizona Cardinals centric specific show where, of course, we talk about the Arizona Cardinals here in the Phoenix metropolitan area. We mentioned BetOnline there in terms of on the read there. If I had bet like I thought, I would have lost some money today, man. So we're going to get into it. We do this thing twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays. Mondays, we look back on the game that was and kind of give our thoughts, our high-level thoughts on that. And then Thursday, we look ahead to the game that's coming up. Now, this is a little bit different because the Cardinals will be on a bye this week. And then plus my partner, Ed Smith. I am Javon Adams. He is Ed Smith. He played on that first Super Bowl-bound team for the Atlanta Falcons. And matter of fact, he's going to be going and participating in a little bit of a reunion of sorts. And we'll get into that maybe at the end of today's show. So how you doing, my brother?
Man, it makes me feel old. 25 years ago, that team was in the Super Bowl. That's a long time ago, man.
Hey, at least you still living and breathing and doing your thing. It's better to have been a part of it and them celebrate you as opposed to them looking at you as some weird footnote, I suppose. Yeah,
There you go. There you go.
So, all right. So let's look on this game that was played. As we record this, it is Sunday. So as you're receiving this, it's Monday or whenever you're listening to this. But the Cardinals traveled to Pittsburgh now, and they defeated the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is the first time I think they've been there in quite some time. But yeah, so they defeated the Pittsburgh Steelers 24-10. The reason why I mentioned that at the top of the show is that the Steelers were favored by some places 6.5, 5.5, 6.5 points. And so it was kind of murky and messy at times, but the Cardinals ended up taking care of business. There was weather delays, a couple of different weather delays for extreme weather conditions, and it was crazy. So I wanted your thoughts just on this game, because there's some things that we could be nitpicky, and I probably will when I point out a couple of these things, but they got it accomplished. And one of the things you mentioned on the show on Friday was you said that Connor needs to have the rock 30 plus times. He got it 25, and he got a couple of touchdowns as well. Your thoughts on this game? What did you see and what impressed you?
Well, there's a couple guys on this Cardinals team who, for the, I guess the medium-sized flight back to the desert here, there's a couple guys to be really feeling good about themselves, accomplished, some coaching and, different things. But Connor and Trey McBride, if I was giving out game balls, I got to go to both of them and give them game balls. And then on our defensive side of the ball, a few guys as well, because obviously we've held the Steelers to 10 points in most forms. That a lot of times that's a great thing, and this one's a good thing because we saw how bad that doggone Steelers our offense is, man. This is one of those situations. If I'm the Steelers, I know we're here to talk about the Cardinals. If I'm the Steelers defense, I'm looking across the way, man, like, you dudes need to step up your game. This is getting ridiculous to the point of, you can almost have a mutiny on the bounty, man. This team, that Steelers team, is putrid offensively, and you're only expected. How long can you hold up on the defensive side? I know the final score was 24-10, but I mean the Steelers did everything they could defensively, and we, as an offensive unit, I'm looking. You notice I did not give Kyler Murray a game ball, even though we got the W. Man, that was a sad sight out there. 13 of 23. 144 yards. He still doesn't quite look right, or like he's whole, or just what is Jay? It's just not quite
curling quite right. Yeah.
Everything, our whole offense once again is dink and dunk to the outside portions of the the field. Nothing deep. I mean, there were a couple times, man, it was like 3rd and 15, you're throwing these 5-yard passes. I think at some point you got to get off it, man. I don't know whether he's not seeing up the field. We know he has an issue with that, or I don't know, the conservative nature. I don't know whether they talked to him about, not tossing the ball to the other side, but it just not, it doesn't look aggressive. It doesn't look good. He's still not running, which I wouldn't expect him to be heavy on the run because of that knee and the psychological part of it. But teams are containing him in the pocket now, and he doesn't have that dynamic nature to him where he's getting out of there and, picking up those, medium to long range third and to goes and stuff like that. He just looks like he's got the gun in his hand, but he's afraid to shoot it, man. And for me, if you're grading him, like for the staff, if you're looking at him, this is another one of those incompletes, or, hey, we might be able to do better than this. If we're paying this dude all this money, it can't be for this, so
Sure.
a lot of stuff to decipher. You're glad and sad that you got the win, Jay, because this is the one. All this is doing is messing up the overall plan. We wasn't to go there and get a 24-10 victory. It doesn't really mean a whole lot in the big scope of things. We're now 3-10. We'll check to see where we are on the tankometer as far as in the draft order. But if you're going to win, you want to do it a lot more impressively than this. To walk out of there against a Steelers team and it's like, yay, we got to win. But it was nothing impressive about that. The fact that you won 24-10, that's impressive. But the way in which you did it, it was another one of those games, man. It just didn't look right.
Yeah, so you mentioned a couple different things there, so I want to get into that. One is that, so we know that, what is it? Kenny Pickett was he was injured at some point towards the end of I want to say the first half, and so it was Mitch Trubisky that came in. What I heard, and I was kind of hitting the trails and stuff, and I listening to the local broadcast, and the Pittsburgh Steelers offense was so anemic that the home crowd was booing the Pittsburgh Steelers because of the ineptitude on offense. And this is even before Pickett went out injured. So that's definitely something that you want to take advantage of that. Now, I also heard on the radio broadcast, the local radio broadcast, hearing that it seemed as if, from what they were saying there, when Tyler remained in the pocket, that they were giving him kudos for that, because almost like maybe that's what he's been coached to do. I don't know if you talk about your superpowers as a player, whatever that might be, if you're excellent coming off the edge and then all of a sudden they want you to do something totally different as opposed to just adding tools to your toolkit, that's different than saying your superpower is your ability to run and use those little legs, and then are they trying to keep him away from that, and that maybe that could get in your head as well. But yeah, there has to be something addressed, because you mentioned that they won but they lost as well, because it's almost it's almost like they lost twice. It's almost like they won, but they lost twice. And here's what I mean by it. And you see what your thoughts on it. One is that, of course, where they fall in terms of where the draft position is. But the other way is that, they won, but man, the way that Kyler played didn't give you confidence that he is getting it, or that he can really excel within your offense, especially if they're going to be trying to call things conservatively. See what you got, take him out on the road and see what he's able to do or not able to do, and that way you can have a better evaluation at the end of the season.
And the other thing, Jay, if you're doing anything, you want to showcase Kyler. You want him to show everybody, if your plan is to potentially move off of him, you want him to be out there showing his superpowers, what he can do to entice someone maybe to come and get him, right?
Right.
If you're talking about keeping this dude in the pocket, my thing is, okay, if you're going to stay in the pocket, you got to do more than 13 for 23 for 145 yards.
Yeah.
That is no type of showcase at all. And for me, if
could it be the weather? Could it be the weather in terms of it was raining?
There was some dudes. I got the spread going on, and I watched Miami do a whole lot of things and a whole lot nastier weather than there was times when the sun was out over there in Pittsburgh. I didn't see a people's sun over there in Washington, D.C., where the Commanders and the Miami was getting it on. It was sloppy, and they was out there getting it in, and you couldn't stop Tua from getting it to his dudes. Now I know they got better dudes than we got dudes, but still, just the look of it just looked. I mean, just there's nothing nice about it. I mean, Kyler's performance, man, that was, and I wonder how he would grade himself. We're 4 games into it, and he can't be thinking that this is good. And once again, we didn't see him under center at all. I mean, there's certain things I'm looking for if they're trying to find out what he can do. Maybe they've just figured he can't do it, and why press the issue? But just I was not impressed. I wasn't impressed with the game plan. I wasn't impressed with Kyler. Like I said, there were a couple of dudes that shined, in my opinion, offensively. Loved what Connor did, and we know it was a get back game for him because going home to play against his former team, where he was born and played college football and everything like that. And Trey McBride, he's just showing why they could move off of Ertz. I think he's our tight end for the future. He's getting out there and he's doing some good things. But I just the offensive line played maybe a little better because they kept Tyler clean for the most part against that vaunted Pittsburgh front. But I mean, he was 13 for 23. I mean, we always talk about having balance and everything like that, but at the same time, golly, they almost went to the other side of it where it was really just not a great display. Yet, how bad do you have to feel if you're the Steelers?
Yeah,
you're 7-5 now, and with that type of performance, I know we talk about our Cardinals, but golly, that was one of those ugly games.
So let's get into it a little bit. So you mentioned Connor. So Connor, 25 carries, 105 yards, 4.2 average per carry, 2 touchdowns. So that was good there. They stuck with they didn't abandon the run. So at least there was some balance there. You of course, as you mentioned, want to see more yards through the air put up by Kyler Murray. But then you mentioned Trey McBride, 8 receptions, 89 yards, 1 touchdown, targeted 9 times. But then when you look at the rest of the targets in terms of the receivers and the tight ends, there was as you made a total of 13 completions, and Trey McBride had 8 of those completions, had 8 of those receptions, I should say. That's a little bit concerning if you're when it's good to have a safety valve, right? But what are you giving up by seeming to just look at just Trey McBride?
Yeah, I'm looking, and we all know there's no mystery. We don't have what you would call a great receiving core, but I mean, the next highest, receiver was 2 by Swaim, 2 for 8, 2 for 10, and then you had a bunch of dudes with 3 dudes with 1 reception. After that, and that to me, there's nothing you can really say about it. It's like that's bad for a young man who made his child. I mean, we're supposed to be getting a whole lot more from Kyler, whether it be scrambling or completing passes to our wide receivers. That was just it was bad all around, man. Like I said, other than the couple dudes that I mentioned, that was a bad performance. And it wasn't like there's been games when you have so much going on the ground, you just kind of get away from maybe throwing the ball. But I mean, we were on 23 pass plays, 38. It looks like 38 on the times on the ground. That was just a bad display, and like we beat a bad team. That's how bad the Steelers are offensively. When you can come in and like Trubisky, I joked with my son during the game. I was like, Trubisky, when you make you buy something and you cancel that and you do a reverse on the charge. Yeah. Trubisky should get that money from the Steelers this week, and he should do a reversal of the charge. He should send that money back to Pittsburgh, because what are you sitting on the bench as a backup quarterback? And that's the best you can do. And along with Pickett, both of you, I mean, their quarterback, they should both have to give their money to charity this week and not cash those checks, because that's just how bad they were. But a win is a win. You look at it and it's like, hey, we have to look at this one and say a win is a win. But as you mentioned, we're hustling backwards in terms of our draft, spot. If you're going to be winning games like this, I want to be blowing people out and at least, doing something that makes us feel good. With your girl, make me feel
Make
good.
feel good.
Let me feel good. Do something to make me feel a little better.
Yeah.
That's
Well, what about this? Throwing this out there. So last week against the Rams, there was a lot of stuff that just didn't feel right. Maybe the effort, the coach was we said that Ossenfort might be really looking at this game, and the coaching staff looking at how players are playing. Now, again, the ineptitude of the Steelers offense, but were you impressed with the defensive side of the ball with at least what they were doing? I mean, yeah, you're taking advantage of a team that can't seem to find their way offensively, but you still didn't allow them to put up more than 10 points.
Yeah, that's on the flip side. Yeah, you got to be happy about the defensive effort, and then once again, you have to look about who you're doing it against. But when you're in the NFL, everybody's getting paid. Everybody's out there trying to do a job, and regardless of how bad their offensive unit is, you gotta tip your hat to the defensive side of the ball, because they were flying around and they caused some of that. They caused some of that by being at the point of attack, stopping, making those two bad quarterbacks look even worse. They did that. I wasn't. They get an assist on that. But yeah, it was a rough game to watch, man. It was just a rough game to watch.
So before I get into your thoughts about this reunion coming up, is okay if we're looking at it from the offensive side of the ball. We've mentioned this a few times during the course of the season when Petzing. At this time, you're no longer, let's say, a new offensive coordinator. You've been doing it for enough weeks to be able to understand. I'm still trying to get a feel for. I think that Petzing wants to be more balanced. I think, but it doesn't seem as if he wants to be dynamic in the sense of having explosive plays down the field too often. He still has a tinge of being a little more on the conservative side. Does that sound about right? I mean, do they really need to do in this bye week, for example, while coming at this time, which is, as you mentioned a couple times, just crazy for this time of the season, but do some real self-evaluation to say, am I playing scared? Am I coaching? Am I calling plays scared in that way?
You hit it right on the head, Jay. At this point in time, I don't see what the holdup is to, hey, let's sling this thing a little bit. You have your supposed franchise quarterback back in the mix, right? There's no, you don't have to go to him like you did with a Josh Dobbs, like, hey, let's just make sure we protect the ball. Supposedly you got your franchise guy back. Let's let it rip a few times. Let's, get him back there on a drop back where, he's, I have yet to see him like let one go, like to see how far he can throw the doggone ball. Let's see if we can get Marquise to run underneath one, or put some pressure on the opposing defense. Everything is so dink and dunking in front of them, and it's almost like they're trying to protect something. It's like, what are you trying to protect? There's nothing at this point. You're 3-10 now, but you want to see what you have, and maybe they just feel like we don't have the wide receiver core to do it, or we're going to do it with some other different guys when the time eventually comes. But, nothing from nothing leaves nothing, man. To watch this, side to side and 5-yard ends and all that kind of stuff, I'm not sure how you can really evaluate, Kyler. At this point, 4 games in, these 4 games back now, just let's see what he can do, how far he can throw it. Get some stuff over the top. Or just even be more creative with the way you're running the ball. It's read option. If it's not read option, it's 5-yard outs, or maybe hit somebody over the middle with a hitch, that type of thing. Hey, let's do some. I watch a lot of football, man. I watch a lot of double reverse flea flickers and this and that and the other, and jet sweeps and all that. I don't see it from us. I don't see any of that from us. And it's frustrating because at this point, we don't have anything to lose. So let's go out there and just play free. And as you mentioned with Petzing, maybe, in the beginning, he's like, well, I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to be out here doing all these crazy things. And when they're not successful, they're going to point the finger at me. At this point, hey, bro, you got the job. You got the job. And now let's see what you can do. Let's see a little more creativity out of you. Who is Kingsbury still calling the plays here? It sure still looks like the same old thing, just a different dude wearing a headset. And to say that this far in, when you have your quarterback back, it just doesn't bode well for me.
All right, so answer me this: with the two delays because of extreme weather conditions, did you ever have anything like that you faced in the NFL?
No, nothing like that. There were times when we'd have a weather warning, maybe on the lookout, but never one and a second one where they actually pulled people out of the stands and the players left the field. Never experienced anything like that, and that would be tough because you get your motor revved up, and then it's like, hey, let's get off the field real quick, and you go in, and you get settled when you're walking back in the locker room that second time. Usually that's the end of the game. So you got to get your mind right to go back out there. And yeah, that would be tough to experience. But yeah, both teams had to do it. We obviously handled it much better than the Steelers. And I don't know what, if I'm a Steelers fan, I don't know what you're looking to hear from that front office or Mike Tomlin. He'll get creative with a couple good one-liners, but even he's got to be sitting there thinking, what the hell's going on here? This looks bad.
It's bad. And again, going into the game, I thought just because of the ineptitude of the Steelers offense, I thought this will be the game if they end up breaking out for 28 points, and I was so wrong. And it seemed a good move by Petzing to at least stay with running the ball. And this is what I guess it's frustrating at the same time. It's nitpick. I mean, they won 24-10, but the point is that why did you go away from the run last week? Why was it just 6 carries and now all of a sudden it's 24 and we're saying great job? That shouldn't be an aberration. That should be the norm instead of outside the norm for sure.
And also, I do think while you're evaluating Kyler, you got to open him up a little bit and let him, show us a little more than what he's shown us. And if he's a little tentative, you got two choices. You sit him down because his mind isn't right yet. He definitely doesn't look like he's playing up to his potential, or you push him in a direction. They can call certain plays and you can't check out of this. Kyler, we want to see you, read whatever, if it's cover 2 and we got something planned to get down the middle of the field, stay with that play and let's get that joint down the middle of the field. Let's run some of our combo stuff, different things like that. But it looks so vanilla. And I'm thinking to myself, it should look a little more exciting. There's a little more, like you said, you use the word dynamic. And if you're looking to see what Kyler can do, at some point you got to take the training wheels off. And, maybe he isn't the guy for this particular offense. So maybe they need someone else in that position, because for me, it just doesn't look like a great fit so far. And I don't even know what their game plan is either. I really don't.
Now, I did come across an article that titled about this game that locally that said progress, show progress. Would you say that? I mean, I guess I could say because Trey McBride continues to seem like he's growing into the expectations or realizing the expectations from that pick. But did you see progress, or did you see, I saw a win, and that doesn't necessarily mean that it was bad, but it's the way in which you win. We talk about that. Sometimes the way you can play very well and still lose, and sometimes you can still have some hitching your giddy up and win a game, especially if if the person or the player that's supposed to be the main cog in this machine is still showing some signs of concern, maybe some concerning things that are going on.
Yeah, all wins and all losses are not created equal. And I don't think it depends on what you're looking for from Kyler. If you're looking to see him take control of this offense, and I know it's only 4 games back, and we do still have to give him a break because he is coming off of an ACL, and he missed a whole chunk of time. He didn't have the offseason to work on. But what I'm looking for is dynamic Kyler, even on a play that's broken. We've seen him against the Raiders last year run around for 18 seconds. And I'm not saying we need to see him run around for 18 seconds, but I'm looking for, taking control of this offense, throwing the ball with, conviction down the middle of the field, throwing receivers open on the sideline down the field, not this stuff where it's, a little 5-yard hit here. And I want to see more from him. So, depending on what the Cardinals are trying to do and what they're trying to see, if it's the wins, okay, you got to win. But are they satisfied? Well, I guarantee you, Jay, you go back and look at that film, and I saw a couple of bad Kyler traits. I saw a spin out and hit the deck, instead of maybe stepping up into the pocket or even stepping around and getting outside to contain. And then I did see a chuck and duck or two. And that was the only time he really threw the ball down the field. And it was like, well, what are you throwing it to? Just because you threw the ball deep this time, were you just throwing it deep because you thought somebody was in the area, or did you see somebody in the area? And so I'm not seeing any progress. When you're talking about progress, going through his progressions and stuff like that, I'm not seeing anything that's exciting that's going to make me say this is our guy moving forward. And I don't think I'm by myself thinking that the coaching staff is probably thinking the same thing. Looks,
Gotcha. So tell me this, leave me with this. How does it as you look ahead to what next Sunday you'll be? What do you anticipate for the weekend coming up with the reunion for the Atlanta Falcons Super Bowl team?
Yeah,
that first.
I should get the itinerary this week. I'm looking forward to seeing some old teammates. They're going to have something for us on Saturday night next week. So I'm flying in Friday. They'll have an event for us Saturday. Then on Sunday, from what I understand, they're going to have us on the field, maybe acknowledge us, and then they'll shuffle us upstairs to watch the game against Tampa from the suites. And I've done this before. I was back a few years ago, 10-year reunion or whatever it was, and it's the same thing. It's really nice to be recognized. And the sad part is that we lost our leader. Coach Reeves is not going to be there. He passed earlier this year. So it would have been great to have him back and maybe even who dare say they acknowledging the fact that he was a semifinalist for the Hall of Fame, which he isn't. I don't know why that man's not in the Hall of Fame already, but it would have been nice to see Coach Reeves, and we'll see if there's other coaches that make it back. And I don't know. There's a couple guys that if they don't intend on coming back, I won't miss them. But for the most part, I want to see my old teammates hang out. It'd be nice to be acknowledged on the field. It's been a long time since I've been on the field for anything like that. So it'd be nice to be back there and, hear the roar of the crowd maybe, and, just have some fun. So I'm looking forward to it.
That should be cool. So, of course, once you return there, we'll get a recap of that, how that went down and everything. But that is Ed Smith. I'm Javon Adams. We do this twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays. So tell a friend about what we have going on here at Bleav in the Arizona Cardinals. As always, we are presented by Bet Online. Congratulations to the Cardinals coming in and going out and defeating the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know my partner James Star Saxon is pretty upset, but he already knows that his that offense was anemic. So, but congratulations on the win. You build on that. You try to get building blocks, and hopefully we can see some progress from the play caller himself, Kyler Murray, when they come back from this bye. So we'll go in and make some changes. So, as always, again presented by Bet Online, and as we always like to say around this time,